Good morning, good morning, good morning. The time for convening has arrived. Senate will come to order. At this time, I will ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. I'm missing the chair from the 28th in here today. Who's doing the, Oh, BLB. All right, Senator from the 21st. All right.
All right. Mr.
Oh, wait a minute. You know you had to read that thing, don't you?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct. Also, would like to introduce our pages for today. I believe you have 10 of them. The senator from the 27th has 2. The senator from the 39th has a page, and the senator from the 35th has a page. And I will introduce our pages. Kipton Roscoe, Ronnie Thomas III, Shiloh Thomas, Jonna George, Ahi Nahi, Amelia Gastino, Chloe Hunt, Jordan Hunt, Olivia Lewis, and Iran Berkatar. Thank you all for being here today.
All right, thank you, Senator. We appreciate that. Is there objection to the dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none. The journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk. First reading and references of Senate bills and resolutions. Mr. Secretary.
Senate Bill 503 by Senator Barrasso of the 28th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 43 of the OCGA.
Economic Development.
Senate Bill 504 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, a bill to be entitled an act to create a board
State
of election.
and local government.
Senate Bill 507 by Senator Gooch of the 51st and others, a bill to be entitled an
Public
act
safety.
Senate Bill 508 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the OCGA relating to courts so as to provide for duties.
Public safety.
Senate Bill 509 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to
Higher education.
Senate Bill 510 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 4876.1.
Public safety.
Senate Bill 511 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the OCGA relating to
Higher education.
Senate Bill 512 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 21
Public
of
safety.
Senate Bill 513 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 16 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to sexual
Public
offenses.
safety.
Senate Bill 514 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of
Public
Chapter 5.
safety.
Senate Resolution 612 by Senator Watson of the 11th and others, a resolution honoring the life of Mr. Larry Jack Morey and dedicating a bridge in his memory and for other purposes.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 616 by Senator Still of the 48th and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the General
Public
Assembly.
safety.
Senate Resolution 619 by Senator Harbison of the 15th, a resolution creating the Senate Public Utility once.
Regulated industries.
Senate Resolution 623 by Senator Robin of the 5th and others, a resolution encouraging the Department of Natural Resources, Department of Economic Development, and
Economic development.
Senate Resolution 624 by Senator Estevez of the 6th and others, a resolution commending.
Rules.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
First reading and references of House bills.
House Bill 53 by Representative Corbett of the 174th and others, a bill entitled.
Agriculture.
House Bill 282 by Representative Maynard of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2.
Education and youth.
House Bill 409 by Representative Daniel of the 170th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to
State
amend.
and local government general.
House Bill 912 by Representative Anderson of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-1-1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to definitions relative to motor vehicle.
Transportation.
House Bill 947 by Representative Leverett of the 123rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 6 of
Appropriations.
House Bill 1010 by Representative Jones of the 47th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter.
Children and family.
House Bill 1189 by Representative Taylor of 173rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for a new charter.
State and
for the
local
city.
government.
House Bill 1217 by Representative Neal of the 79th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to
State
restrict.
and local government.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary Reed, report of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Banking and Financial Institutions has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Resolution 82 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Summers of the 13th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Children and Family has had consideration of the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 483 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Ethics has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 413 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 384 do pass and Senate Bill 484 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker of the 20th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 414 do pass by substitute, Senate Bill 490 do pass by substitute, Senate Bill 454 do pass, and House Bill 220 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. Additionally, Mr. Secretary, pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.6, I hereby give notice that I will introduce a minority report to be read along with the majority report of Senate Bill 414, which passed out of the Senate Committee on Judiciary on February 15, 2024. Sincerely, Senator Parent of the 42nd District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Public Safety has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 418 do pass by substitute, Senate Bill 417 do pass by substitute, Senate Resolution 570 do pass, Senate Bill 472 do pass, Senate Bill 470 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Albers of the 56th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 471 do pass by substitute and Senate Bill 433 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowser of the 46th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on SLOGO has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that House Bill 1141 do pass and House Bill 1143 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator again of the 47th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on SLOGO has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that House Bill 1094 do pass, House Bill 1095 do pass, Senate Bill 468 do pass, and Senate Bill 467 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator again of the 47th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Urban Affairs has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Bill 125 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator James of the 35th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation that Senate Resolution 527 do pass and House Bill 299 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Secretary, read bills and resolutions for the second time.
Senate Bill 88 by Senator Summers of the 13th and others, Parents and Children Protection Act of 2023 enact. Senate Bill 351 by Senator Inabitarte, the 31st and others, Protecting Georgia's Children on Social Media Act of 2024 enact. Senate Bill 368 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, Government Transparency and Campaign Finance, Foreign Nationals from contributing to candidates for campaign committees prohibit. Senate Bill 374 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors Act of 2021, Land Surveyor Interns and Professional Land Surveyors change provisions. Senate Bill 399 by Senator Eccles of the 49th and others, Board of Regents of University System of Georgia to enter into and amend existing agreements with the State Board of the Technical College System of Georgia, encourage and state expectations. Senate Bill 401 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, Senate Foster Care and Adoption Study Committee implement recommendations. Senate Bill 429 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th and others, Small Business Protection Act of 2024 enact. Senate Bill 440 by Senator Brass of the 28th and others, Accelerated Career Diploma Program, ACE Grants Pilot Program, establish and provide. Senate Bill 449 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, Certified Nursing Aid, certain military medical personnel from an examination requirement exempt. Senate Bill 462 by Senator Moore of the 53rd, Defend the Guard Act enact. Senate Bill 464 by Senator Dixon of the 45th and others, School Supplies for Teachers Program established. Senate Bill 469 by Senator Epstein of the 6th and others, College Success 529 Expansion Act enact. Senate Bill 479 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others, Secondary Metals Recyclers, applicability of the definition of the term used attached catalytic converters to said article provide. Senate Resolution 579 by Senator Cowser of the 46th and others, Sports Betting Georgia General Assembly to provide by general law for sports betting in the state to authorize CA. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, you all. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 52nd, 22nd, 36, 44, 38, and 10.
Without objection, senators from the 52nd, 22nd, 36, 44, 38, and the 10th. All right, excuse. Recognize the senator from the 48th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I would like unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 28th and the 45th.
Without objection, senator from the 28th and 48th are excused. Senator from the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 15th for business inside the Capitol and the senator from the 5th for business outside the Capitol.
Without objection, senators from the 15th and the 5th are excused. Any other motions to excuse? Secretary will call the roll. Senators, signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary, unlock the machine. It is now time for the morning devotion. All senators, please take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask doorkeepers to secure the chambers at this time. I now recognize the senator from the 39th to lead us in our pledge and introduce our pastor of the day. Senator?
Good morning. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Good morning. Today, I have the distinct honor to introduce you to a native of Atlanta, an alum of Northside High School, and a remarkable individual whose life and work have left an indelible mark on our community and beyond, Reverend Darrell Winston. Reverend Winston's journey began in the military, where he spent 6 years as a chaplain assistant and later as a chaplain in the National Guard, which led him to start his ministry in Europe and was often called upon to minister to military personnel and their families, embarking on a journey that has now spanned over 38 remarkable years. He is more than just a pastor. He is a spiritual advisor, counselor, and strategist for leaders across various sectors, including business, politics, government, education, and entertainment. His influence and guidance have shaped the lives and careers of many, demonstrating his profound impact on our society. His School of Ministry has trained over 2,000 leaders from diverse denominations and religious affiliations, fostering a new generation of leaders equipped to serve their communities with both passion and integrity. His entrepreneurial spirit and strategic vision have also led to the founding of numerous initiatives and organizations aimed at empowering and uplifting those who've been marginalized. Among these are the Mercy Seat Assembly, Global Prayer Network, Shalom Assembly, the FRED Initiative, and the Save Our City Coalition. Through these endeavors, he's worked tirelessly to address the spiritual, social, economic, and political needs of our communities. He is an apostle and in charge of Greater Works Ministry. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Darrell Winston to the Georgia Senate today.
Thank you, Senator Halpern. Mr. President, and to all esteemed exemplary leaders in this chamber, since this is devotion, and I am an ordained Baptist preacher, I can't help but to say this is the day that the merciful God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Mother Geneva Hagerbrooks, esteemed exemplary Georgian who made an indelible mark on this state and nation, having been the first African-American woman to start just a plethora of businesses, to include Hagerbrooks Funeral Home. Hagerbrooks Academy was known as a philanthropist, often called upon to make an impact on her generation, and even generations that have since been born are still reaping the benefit and reaping the harvest from her service. Whenever she would go out in the community, whenever she would be called upon to speak at various civic events and even church events, Mother Hagerbrooks, Geneva Hagerbrooks, would often stand and greet the congregations and greet those wherever she was called to speak with a poem that was penned or credited, having been given the credit by Charles Meade. And it is titled For Others. One stanza of the poem says, "Help me in all the work I do to ever be sincere and true, and know that all I do for you must needs be done for others." I remember as a little boy watching Mother Hagerbrooks stand, and as she was leaving, she would speak, walking down the aisles, for others. Lord, yes, for others. Others, Lord, for others. Help me to live for others that I may live like you. And then all that I do for you must be done for others. Amid the clamoring chaos where we are seeing a nation, a society in a tailspin because we are living loud lives, it's a challenge for us to hear sometimes. Oftentimes we can't hear because we're shouting. Sometimes we can't hear because we haven't bent our ear or to get under to understand. But there is something Dr. Howard Thurman said in 1980 at Spelman College as he was the keynote speaker for the Baccalaureate. He said there is something in all of us that is designed to listen to the sound of the genuine. Dr. Howard Thurman said to all, he said, may you listen to the sound of the genuine. As you do the bidding, as you go forth as serving, may we be open to the sound of the genuine, and may all that we do be for others. Others, yes, for others. Let us pray. Most holy and merciful one, we thank you for the blessing of this day. We thank you for this august body who've come to do the bidding of the state and their constituencies. We thank you for causing them to operate in the spirit of wisdom. We lift up this body of servant leaders, asking that you will cover, protect, sustain, strengthen, surround them in your love, surround each one in your grace. I ask now that you will endow them with the spirit of wisdom and understanding. I ask now that you will saturate with your discernment. I ask now this day that each member be strengthened by your power in the innermost parts of their being, that they will be strengthened today and even hear the sound of the genuine. I pray today that each one, by your Spirit, will operate in the spirit of unity. Grant grace to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before you. Bless their families. Enable them to continue to do great and mighty things that they know not of. And all the people say, Amen, amen, amen. Thank you.
good. All right, if I could have everybody's attention, we've got our doctor of the day. Always nice to have our physicians down here serving the folks down here at the Capitol. We appreciate their time and effort. And I recognize our good senator from the 7th to introduce our doctor of the day.
Hello, it is my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Jeffrey Cooper. He is a pediatrician in Duluth, Georgia, and is affiliated with multiple hospitals in the area, including Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and Northside Hospital, Gwinnett. He received his medical degree from Emory University School of Medicine and has been in practice for more than 20 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's 35 years. So my name is Jeff Cooper, and I jokingly say that my superpower is snatching children from the jaws of death. So today I get to snatch adults from the jaws of death, so let's hope none of you decide to challenge me on that one. I want to issue a sincere thank you to all of you, what you do, that I know that you all, your superpower is snatching Georgia and allowing us the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I sincerely appreciate what you all do. Georgia's a great place to practice medicine, and I love it here. So I grew up in Georgia, by the way. So come see us if you need us, and I'm praying that you don't need us.
All right, good job. Thanks, Doc. Are there any unanimous consents? Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize the senator from the 31st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, body. Want to talk to you a little bit about workforce development very briefly. I know this body passed a priority of the president's, and I know some legislation very special to the senator from the 17th. And I know right now as we're looking at the world we're in and we're prioritizing workforce development in this chamber, I think some of our work's being hindered maybe a little bit across the yonder of the Capitol as we kind of get into the second half of the football season here. We'll just use that analogy since the president loves football so much. But I want to tell a quick story along those lines about why I know this legislation is important for us as senators, but the people we serve, and tell a personal story. So there's a gentleman named Alvin that wants to be a used car dealer. He has a conviction on his record from over 20 years ago, and he has no conviction since then. To be a used car dealer, Alvin needs to get a dealer's license. Licensure requires that Alvin complete a training course established by a place of business and pay a fee. But only after completing these requirements will Alvin find out whether or not his 20-year conviction will prevent him from obtaining a dealer's license. Because of that lack of clarity, Alvin has decided he cannot afford to risk his investment of his money, his time, of completing costly requirements, so he has not applied for his license. If we would pass Senate Bill 157, Alvin will be able to get a binding decision on whether his record is disqualified before investing in training and required fees to get this job. Senate Bill 157 also ensures that decades-old records will not hold someone back. So I look forward to working with our friends across in the House to empower Alvin to move forward with his life, his family, and contribute to the Georgia economy. Thank you, Mr. President, for the time.
Thank you, Senator. I recognize the senator from the 43rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Greetings, colleagues. I rise today to recognize the Empire Board of Realtors Day at the Capitol and to celebrate its 85th. I was about to give y'all another 100 years. Its 85th anniversary, and I am joined by the senator from the 12th. The Empire Board of Realtors is a professional real estate trade organization and is the Atlanta chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB. It is one of the oldest minority trade associations in America. Since its inception, they have participated in various meaningful challenges and legislative improvements to establish fair housing for all. The Empire Board of Realtors continues to dedicate its energies toward making the dream of home ownership come true. Their motto, democracy in housing, truly provides the stimuli and stamina for EBR to remain an important institution in the economic engine of the metropolitan Atlanta and the state of Georgia. The oldest member of the organization is Mr. R.T. Roby of Atlanta, Georgia, who is now 104 years old. Here today is President of the Empire Board, Mrs. Archie Emerson, Chairman of the Board and former President of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, Mr. Jeffrey Hicks, as well as Ms. Mariette Bozeman, Ms. Shannon Anderson, and Ms. Latika Archuleta. And we have many other board members in the gallery. Will you please stand? Welcome them to their state capitol. Thank you for continuing to assist everyone in realizing the American dream of home ownership. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning, Russian state media announced that 47-year-old opposition leader Alexei Navalny died in Russian prison. This is not a person we talk about a lot here, but he's a very important person nonetheless. We don't know if he's actually dead because Russian state media is the one who's telling us that he's dead. But his family believes that if he is in fact dead, then he was murdered by Vladimir Putin's regime. Alexei Navalny came to prominence about 10 years ago when he started blogging about corruption in the Russian government. He quickly became Putin's biggest enemy domestically. And I don't know if anybody's seen the documentary about Navalny that's named after him, but it's one of the most dramatic documentaries you'll ever watch because, to ruin it for you, in real time, the documentarians show Navalny and his team tricking Russian state agents into admitting that they attempted to assassinate him with nerve agent in 2020, for which he had to spend a lot of time in Germany recovering. Then Navalny did something that I hope a lot of patriots of any country fighting for democracy would do. He went back to his home country, knowing in 2021 that there was a good chance that Putin and his regime would capture him or murder him, which appears to be exactly what happened. We talk about, in lofted patriotic terms, what it means to die for your country. I would argue that Navalny exemplifies that highest ideal. And I think it's a point of reflection for Americans that right now we don't have to die for our country in the same dramatic way that Navalny did. But what we are seeing is an increase in distrust in this country from a lot of different angles. And we're starting to behave in this country like our political opponents are more enemies than either foreign countries or other true enemies are. My worry is if we don't start dying for our country in the smaller ways, We find humility to put others before self, whether it's partisan politics, whether it's service in other ways in this body or elsewhere. If we don't find ways to find true service, true neighborliness with our fellow countrymen, then eventually we may get to a place where somebody has to die for their country here in the same way that Navalny did in Russia. So I just wanted to bring our meditation, our attention to a fallen patriot today who stood for the cause of democracy at his home and globally at the cost of his life. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to recognize a constituent of mine, J.T. Wu, who is the founder of Preface Project. Preface Project is an award-winning Georgia-based nonprofit organization which operates nationally and has increased childhood literacy rates by empowering high school student ambassadors of all backgrounds to read with and mentor young students in multiple languages at no cost to schools. He is also a proud lifelong Georgian and Gwinnett County native who has diligently served the state of Georgia and its next generation through his philanthropic endeavors in education and childhood literacy. I am so proud of J.T. Wu and his organization and all the work that he does for Gwinnett County, Georgians, and children nationally. Will you please rise to be recognized? Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield.
Recognize the senator from the 17th. You got the rules book?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one of our friends up in the gallery that used to be your constituents, now is mine, and you should have known if you text me I was going to embarrass you for being here. We have Sheriff Robert Markley from Morgan County. You want to stand up? And he's sitting with somebody. I think they're working on a bill right now. I'm not sure what they're doing here today, but I want to take a second and highlight him because he is retiring after this year. He has been sheriff in Morgan County since 2000. He worked his way up in the sheriff's office since 1990 as a jailer, as a patrol officer, and an investigator, and spent his entire career supporting the people out in Morgan County and also doing a lot of work up here at State Capitol to make sure we get things right. I don't think your career is over. There's more to come, but we appreciate your service, your lifetime of service in law enforcement, what you've done for the people out in Morgan County. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sheriff from Morgan County is one of the best in the state, and I always appreciated his service when I was served in the Senate. He was one of my favorite sheriffs, and I really mean that. He does a good job in that community, and he's way too young to be retired. So he definitely has a future doing something else. So glad to have you here, Sheriff. Recognize the senator from the 51st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I want to come to you and just thank everybody for the hard work this week. We've had a productive week and headed home for the weekend, an extra day off on Monday. But I wanted to also compliment the AJC for their good coverage of our news this week in Georgia, especially in what we did in the Senate yesterday. Our senator from the 52nd delivered a good bill this week that's going to offer our homeowners some tax relief. It's going to give every homeowner in Georgia up to a G in cash off for their property taxes in the future. So good work, senators, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Does any other senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Hearing none. You have before you a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolution on the consent calendar is adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Is there objection to reading to the report of the Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations? Hold on. Whoa.
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on local consent calendar? Chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. The question is on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor vote yea, all opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. All right. She about to. Recognize the senator from the. On the passes of the bill, the yeas are 48, and the nays are 0. This bill on the local consent calendar, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. I recognize the senator from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion we go ahead and transmit the local consent calendar, Senate Bill 467, Senate Bill 468, House Bill 1094, House Bill 1095 on to the governor's office.
Senator has motioned that we immediately transmit what bills again on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 467, Senate Bill 468, House Bill 1094, House Bill 1095.
Okay.
Local
Is there
legislation.
objection to the senator's motion? This is the Baldwin County motion then,
Yes,
I guess. Okay, all right. Without objection, the motion is approved. Recognize the senator from the 36th. Second.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend Senate Rule 7-1.10B, which requires a one-day notice before the Senate can consider agreeing to a House substitute on a Senate bill. Yesterday, the House passed Senate Bill 388 by substitute. This is a local bill that provides for a homestead exemption from Cherokee County School District ad valorem taxes. The bill requires a referendum, and the governor would have to sign the bill by tomorrow in order to get this issue on the ballot. Therefore, I would ask for unanimous consent that the Senate suspend the notice rules so that I can make a motion to agree to the House substitute and get the bill to the governor in a timely manner.
Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 388, a bill by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing a homestead exemption from Cherokee County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes for the full value of the homestead for certain residents of that school district who have annual incomes not exceeding $16,000 and who are 62 years of age or over, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The Senator, would you like to speak to the bill or the motion? Actually, hold right there, Senator. Is there objection to the motion from the Senator from the 32nd? Without objection. Now for your second motion there, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that we agree to the House amendment on Senate Bill 388.
The Senator has moved. Is there objection? Senator, would you like to speak to the motion? Okay, she's declined. Is there objection to the motion? Without the objection, Senator, the motion passes. All right, Senator has moved to agree to the House substitute on SB 388. There is no objection. We do have to vote on it, however. So all those in favor of the motion will vote yea. All those opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the motion for the House substitute, the yeas are 47, nays are 0, and this has prevailed. I recognize the Majority Leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate engross Senate Bill 212 at this time.
Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 212, a bill by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to probate courts and Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections, respectively, so as to end activities and duties of probate court judges relating to elections and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? We have objection. All those, and you want to speak to it at all, Senator? All right, the Senator declined to speak, so all for the Majority Leader's motion to engross will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 29, the nays are 19, and this motion has prevailed and is engrossed. Moving on to the rules calendar. SB 212, Mr. Secretary.
Senate Bill 212, a bill by Senator Burns of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 15 of the OCGA relating to probate courts and Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections, respectively, so as to end activities and duties of probate court judges relating to elections and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Ethics recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burns of the 23rd District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Ethics offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 212, a bill to entitle an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 15 and Title 21 of the OCGA relating to probate courts and elections, respectively, so as to end activities and duties of probate court judges relating to elections and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy Friday, colleagues. I have before you today Senate Bill 212. 212 resolves an issue that we've had in Georgia for decades. As you know, we have 159 counties, and of those 159 counties, 135 of those use local boards of registration elections. Many of you have responded to local requests for local bills to remove responsibility from probate judges and create a local board of elections. There are about 24 or so counties that are still utilizing probate judges to handle elections. This bill would relieve the probate judge from elections responsibility and require those communities to create a local board of elections. We've crafted the bill to be very, very flexible so that the local governing authority can determine how they choose to create those boards. We require a 3-member board, which they can by resolution extend to 5. There are 4-year terms. There's no prohibition about reappointment or limits. Local political parties may make recommendations for those local boards of elections, but the local governing authority makes the decision. I think the most important thing is this engages the local community in the elections process. So, what I'd like to ask for your consideration is that this bill pass so that we can become consistent across Georgia. Every county would have a local board of elections and registration. If your county, if any county that is still using a probate judge, if they wish to create a local board of elections different from the way SB 212 would create it, they may still do that through local legislation as long as their local legislation is effective prior to January the 1st of 2025. I want to tell you that this bill was coordinated through the Council of Probate Judges of Georgia and through ACCG, and they support this measure. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll be happy to yield the well.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 2nd. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as you all know, as much as I talk about I-16, I also talk about legislation without appropriation. And this legislation is to fund more local election boards on some of our smaller counties that may or may not have the taxing base to afford to add all these additional staff positions in smaller, more rural communities. Elections have become a very costly practice for local county governments. There's no allocation from the state to administer elections for localities. Therefore, whatever this body does is passed down to the local taxpayers in those local jurisdictions to foot the bill. I don't disagree with the concept of moving from a probate court judge that was making about $400 in additional compensation to now 3 to 5 member board with all 3 or 5 of those members having to also be compensated, having to hire an election superintendent now in our much smaller communities. If there are no rural election grants or different things that the state is going to do, because we also passed a bill that says if you are going to go and seek grants, you got to go through the state election board to get those grants. So we're making it increasingly challenging for our much smaller counties to administer elections. And I think that's something that this body should take under consideration greatly, because we've had a surplus several years, but we have not made funding elections through the state budget a priority. And I'm telling you, you cannot legislate if you're not also going to appropriate to look out for our smaller rural communities, because all it takes is for anybody in this body to pass a bill and kick the can down the road. And I would just close with this, Mr. President. You can shear sheep year after year, but you can only skin him once. With that, I yield the well, Mr. President.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. Previous question ordered. I welcome the senator from 23rd to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I want to make a couple points of clarification. I appreciate my good friend from the 2nd and his passion about unfunded mandates. I share that. I want you to understand this is a process that's currently being funded by the county. It's moving the responsibility from the probate judge to a local board of elections, and the county sets the compensation of that board. By the way, the majority of the time that compensation will be a zero, especially in small counties. They also have to have an elections superintendent. They do not have to have a full-time person, as you may not know. Registration happens continuously. Elections happen periodically. We have worked very diligently with ACCG to ensure that the cost to the county is minimal as we transition to a more representative body that can conduct elections in our counties. And I want you to know I am confident that the counties will benefit and Georgia will benefit from this bill. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
All right, Senator has closed debate. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea, all opposed nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 35, the nays are 12. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Moving on to SB 322. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 322, a bill by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 16 of Title 47 of the OCGA relating to the Sheriff's Retirement Fund of Georgia, so to provide for an increase in dues, to provide for an increase in the sum to be paid for purchasing prior service credit, and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Williams of the 25th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Retirement offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 322. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 16 of Title 47 of the OCGA relating to the Sheriff's Retirement Fund of Georgia, so to provide for an increase in dues, to provide for an increase in the sum to be paid for purchasing prior service credit, and for other purposes. Official note has been attached. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 43rd, for what purpose do you rise? Senator from the 43rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 10th.
Without objection. Senator from the 10th, I think, has already been excused, but we can excuse him again. So, I recognize Senator from the 20th. Speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be able to bring to you today a bill that's going to help our Georgia sheriffs, Senate Bill 322. I've worked with the Georgia Sheriff's Association on this retirement bill. The sheriffs want to make some improvements to their retirement plan. And let me point out that this plan requires no state funding. No state funding. It is funded by member dues, member fees, and fees collected in civil actions and investment income. There are presently 194 retired sheriffs and or beneficiaries supported by the fund, with another 8 who will soon reach retirement age and begin receiving benefits. There are also 154 sitting sheriffs who are members of the Sheriff's Retirement Fund of Georgia. The monthly benefit is currently based on a multiplier of $172.47 multiplied by the years of service. They have to be elected sheriff for a minimum of 8 years and to have reached age 55 to get the retirement benefit. What this bill does in Section 1, it increases from $37.50 to $65 per month the cost members must pay to purchase up to 4 years of prior military service and up to 4 years of prior law enforcement service. They can purchase a maximum of 8 years of creditable service. Again, it's increasing the amount to purchase that from $37.50 to $65 per month. Section 2 increases the monthly dues paid by the sheriffs currently holding office from $45 to $65. Section 3 establishes a $2 fee collected by the clerks of court in criminal cases where defendants have been sentenced to a diversion program rather than incarceration. So that's a new fee that is not in code currently. Section 4 increases from $1 to $5 the fees collected for the service of process and civil actions. That has not been changed since 1991. Section 5 increases the member's death benefit from $15,000 to $35,000. That would come into play if the sheriff died prior to reaching retirement age and vesting in this program. Once they vest in the program, then the beneficiary of the sheriff is paid out in an annuity, so monthly income based on what the sheriff would have gotten for retirement. Section 6, and this is a good add, prohibits payments from the fund to retired sheriffs convicted of a felony offense related to the office of sheriff. So if they're convicted of a felony related to their office, they would lose their benefits. It's a good bill. Again, no cost to the state. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You do have a couple questions, Senator. Senator from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that we fully vetted this bill and we had testimony from sheriffs that this will certainly help our sheriffs out throughout Georgia and even recruiting more deputies to come to work for them?
Mr. Retirement Chairman, I appreciate the question. You're right. We, as all retirement bills that we work on, we started on this bill at the last year, the first year of a biennial, and we got, of course, a actuarial study and have heard compelling testimony. I think it passed out of your committee unanimously.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much for bringing this bill to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Recognize Senator from the 53rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the chairman yield?
Yes, sir, from my friend from North Georgia.
Yes, sir. Listen, I looked over the bill. I thought it was a great piece of legislation until I got to Section 3. And on line 76, I thought we were under the assumption that we were innocent until we were proven guilty. And it says, fee collected prior to the adjudication of guilt. Should innocent people be funding this in this way?
What lines are you looking at?
76.
So these are individuals that instead of being incarcerated, they've agreed to a diversion program. So they've already gone through their due process, and in lieu of going to jail or prison, they are on a diversion program. And I think this is, I'm not a lawyer, but I think this is a lot of the, like the mental health courts and the other type of special courts we have set up that offer these diversion programs.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
You have no further questions, Senator.
All right, y'all ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objections to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. we had a late arriving amendment, but the author has pulled the amendment. So, and we appreciate his cooperation on that as well. So. On the adoption of the committee substitute, excuse me. On the committee substitute, we've called the previous question. Now we're time for us to vote on this thing. So, all those in favor of the bill will vote yea. All opposed, nay. On the adoption of the committee substitute, is there objection to the committee substitute? Hearing no objection, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. Report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. I want to thank the Sheriff's Association. They worked really hard on getting that done. I want to thank our retirement chairman on that, and the chairman from the 20th as well for carrying that bill. So we appreciate our sheriffs and all the hard work y'all do. So thank y'all very much. All right, Secretary reads SB 341.
Senate Bill 341, a bill by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend various titles of the OCGA so as to revise committee names and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harbin of the 16th District Chairman. The Senate Committee on Government Oversight offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 341, a bill to be entitled an act to amend various titles of the OCGA so as to revise committee names, to repeal provisions relating to inactive boards, panels, authorities, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize Senator from 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this bill will look familiar because we overwhelmingly passed it last year. It is back this year after a veto due to an amendment that is unrelated to the bill I'm presenting today. Senate Bill 341 is a bill to streamline and simplify our code. It repeals a number of inactive boards and commissions that are still in our code and renames 3 committees. In addition, it eliminates pre-filing legislation, and it modifies the structure of the Legislative Services Committee. These boards and commissions are either obsolete, have not met, or no one can remember what they're for. Sections 1, 2, and 14 are committee name changes. Sections 3 and then 6 through 13 are obsolete or inactive boards and commissions. Section 4 does away with pre-filed legislation, which is an unnecessary burden on our administrative staff in the House and Senate. And Section 5 changes the structure of the Legislative Services Committee, rotating the chairmanship between the House and the Senate, which gives parity to both chambers and strengthens the collaboration between the House and the Senate. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I wasn't going to go through all the specific boards and commissions unless someone has a specific question.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to the agreed to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary on the lock machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Moving on to SB 436. SB 436. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 436, a bill by Senator Watson of the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1B of Article 13 of Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the OCGA relating to operation of farm use vehicles, so as to define a term, to provide for related matters, and further purposes. The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Goodman of the 8th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I do bring before you Senate Bill 436. This deals with the operation of our farm equipment within our state. Current law requires oncoming traffic to yield when they approach a farmer or any one of his employees or family members driving a piece of farm equipment and they are unable to move to the right side of the road. Bridge, guardrail, we're just changing the word operator within this bill and defining that. And we're changing the word exclusively to primarily so that equipment dealers, salesmen, and others that operate farm equipment can also have the same right as our farmers do. That's what the bill does, and I'll be glad to take any questions if there are any.
First, you do have a couple questions, Senator.
All right.
Senator from the 56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, sir, I will.
Senator, you've had a long, distinguished career in the General Assembly. Is that not true?
Yes, sir, that is.
Senator, how long have you been in the Senate now?
A little over a year.
How many bills have you passed out of the Senate chamber at this point, Senator?
This is the first Senate bill, Mr. Chairman.
Senator yield for a series of questions?
Might as well. It is Friday afternoon, though, I will say that.
Senator, did you think you would come down here today and just quickly get up and down from the well without getting the proper hazing?
I was kind of hoping so, because I was hoping Friday might help that, and I know I'm going to lose some votes if I'm longer than 2 minutes.
Senator, is it not true that you yourself are in the agriculture industry?
It is.
Do you think this is going to benefit you personally?
I don't think it will. I drive my own tractors, and my employees drive my own tractors. So.
We used to have a former rules chairman here years ago, and he always talked about something called moral turpitude. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Could you explain what moral turpitude is to this body?
It's to always do what's right, and that's what we're doing in this bill, and I'd appreciate your support.
One final question, Senator.
Yes, sir.
If that's true, why is it not specifically named in this bill? Was it not so important that you wouldn't put moral turpitude in your bill today? Tell us.
We didn't think that was necessary to define in this code section. So,
all right. Welcome to the Senate.
Recognize Senator from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I do.
I asked you this question in committee. It's pretty important to me. Since you didn't answer it then, I'm hoping you have an answer prepared today. If a combine leaves Tifton at 1 p.m. traveling 18 miles an hour, and a tractor leaves Moultrie traveling 30 miles an hour on Highway 319, when and where will they pass?
I'm gonna say, being the tractor left Moultrie, it was probably a John Deere, and it's gonna pass them just north of Ashburn, and that'll be it.
You don't know approximate time?
I don't know. I don't. Do you?
I do not. Thank you.
Mr. President, it's Friday. I'm on yield to well. Appreciate your support.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea, nay. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Senator from the second, for what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that hazing is a misdemeanor of a high and aggravated nature and also a bail-restricted offense in the state of Georgia?
I don't know anything about that, Senator. I do know the answer to the riddle that the senator from the 49th asked, and the answer is they go meet at the farmer's market at the end of the day. So, but we'll get you an answer to your question later. So, moving on the rules calendar, Senate Bill 448. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 448, a bill by Senator Hatchett of the 50th and others, a bill to be in town and act to amend the OCGA so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions in, and reenact the statutory portion of said code as amended in furtherance of the work of the Code Revision Commission and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to bring you Senate Bill 448. This is the annual cleanup bill for the official code of Georgia. It corrects any errors or omissions in punctuation, grammar, terminology, or spelling. It's something we pass every year. I'm sure some people would like to have some fun questions with this one, so I will yield for a few questions if there are any.
You do have one question, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does Senator yield for
I
a
do.
series of questions?
Absolutely.
Senator, is this a governor's bill?
This is not a governor's bill, no.
Is it the First Lady's bill?
No, it is not.
Okay. Did you run this bill by the senator from the 19th before you presented it today?
Well, it went through judiciary, and, well, I guess he's not on
He's not
judiciary
on there.
anymore,
You're
so
making the
I
jokes
think
for
we
me.
had some conversations about it.
Well, let me ask you, said you're correcting some errors and omissions. Who made these mistakes that you're fixing?
That's a good question. I've only been here for 4 years, so it's a lot of people that came before me, I think, because none of the changes that were made, I don't think I had anything to do with. But, you know, there were some big policy considerations. One in particular was whether or not to hyphen email, the word email. And the policy and position of the state of Georgia is to not hyphen the word email. Another big policy decision, I think, was whether or not to capitalize the word internet throughout the code section. And the state of Georgia is no longer going to capitalize the word internet.
I appreciate that. This bill has 1,147 lines. You addressed 2 of them. Have you read the entire bill?
I have read the entire bill.
So let me ask you, if you go to line 1068, please. It's on page 42. Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
So in this one, especially on line 1069, you're replacing comma and with semicolon and. What is the difference you're making there in the code?
You know, it's just a grammatical error that the Ledge Council found.
So Ledge Council did this bill for you, or is this your bill?
Ledge Council obviously drafts every bill that comes before us.
So do you stand by the change on 1069, or is it something you were asked to do? You just said, I'll do it and file it and just present it. Nobody's going to notice it.
I stand 100% behind this change.
Looking at line 1068, what is code section 51-4-2? What does that do?
That is a great question. I'm assuming, and I don't have the code in front of me with this particular line, but I know 51 is torts.
You know Title 51.
I do know Title 51,
What
and I
is Title
see where you're
51?
going. It has to do with torts.
With
yes.
torts. So
Mhm.
is it true that we can all say now in our mailers the next election, we've at least twice now in this body, once we pass this bill, enacted tort reform?
The senator knows of what he speaks.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. President, I will yield the well. Thank you very much. I ask for your favorable consideration.
All right. Does any other senator wish to speak on behalf of the bill? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. GTLA reigns supreme. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46, the nays are 2. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. I love the tort reform that 2 trial lawyers put together today. So, oh, man. All right, moving on. SR 487. Secretary, unlock the machine. Secretary, this is exactly why I don't need all y'all coming up to me, talking to me, asking me for favors while I'm trying to do this all day long. Throws me off here. Oh, man. But it is Friday, so. All right, Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Resolution 487, a resolution by Senator Rett of the 33rd and others. A resolution commending Taiwan for its relations with the United States and the state of Georgia and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this resolution do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Brass of the 28th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 33rd.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. This is just a resolution from the senator from the 28th and I. It is a celebration of the Taiwan Relations Act of the 45th anniversary. The members of this body encourage Georgians to take part in the activities and experiences that demonstrate and promote Taiwan culture, cuisine, and tourism, and support the Taiwan Caucus as a means to explore more collaboration opportunities with Taiwan and commend Taiwan with its long-standing mutual beneficial relationship with the state of Georgia, as well as positive relations with the United States. And if I may, Mr. President, unlock the machines. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection on the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution will vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machines. On the adoption of the resolution, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. All right, we got a couple of special actions we're going to do here. I recognize the senator from the 56.
Mr. President, I'd ask unanimous consent that the Senate disagree with the conference committee report to Senate Bill 13 and instruct the committee to renew its conference with the House and prepare a new report.
Senator has asked for unanimous consent for the Senate to disagree with SB 13 Conference Committee. Secretary, read the committee report.
Committees of Conference substitute to Senate Bill 13, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Sections 913-161 and 4414-162 and Title 48 of the OCGA relating to where and when sales under execution held and change of place and public sales by court order, sales made on foreclosure under power of sale, and revenue and taxation and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from 56, do you want to speak to the measure?
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 13 was originally to help out our sheriffs with online auctions. At the end of day 40, it was cobbled together with several other bills. Some of those we believe have passed, and others may have some financial implications that we were not aware of at the time. Thank you to the Appropriations Chairman for his great work. And together we'd like to ask to go back and look at that bill and make sure we have the proper things associated with it. With that, I'll yield the well.
The senator has yielded. Does any other senator wish to speak for the measure? Senator from the 53rd, for what purpose do you rise?
To make a motion, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion, I believe it's under 5-1.8, to be excused from this vote due to an occupational issue.
Can you do it in your auctioneer voice?
All right, on a bidder able to buy them, hey to get it down. What do you pay? Senate Bill 13 here, need to be excused. I think it's going to be 5.18.
All right, I like that. All right. Is there objection to the senator from the 56 motion? Is there objection to the senator from the 53rd's motion to excuse? Okay, no objection, you're excused. I like that, Senator. That was probably one of the funniest things you've done all session. I like that. All right, now back to the senator from the 56 on his. Is there objection to the question that the senator raised about disagreeing with Conference Committee SB 13? Without objection, it is good. It is disagreed to. All right, I recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to H.R. 978 until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February the 20th.
Secretary, read the announcements.
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment today in 4:50, and the Rules Committee the Regulated Industries Committee on Infrastructure and Community Development Subcommittee will meet upon adjournment of the Rules Committee today in Mes 1. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The majority leader has moved for the Senate to stand adjourned until February 20th. Recognize the Senator from the 21st for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since we're off on Monday, we will not have Economic Development Committee on Tuesday morning at 8. We will not. We've moved it till Thursday at 3 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. President. Yield the will.
Any other announcements? Recognize Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, we're in for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not here Monday and Friday, but on Thursday, we'll have another John Bullock Day and bring your freshly pressed, creased blue jeans. We'll wear those on Thursday, which will be the last day of the week for us next week. Next Thursday, John Bullock Day. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend and be safe.
Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appropriations Full Committee, 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. Appropriations Full Committee, 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
You got any money in the budget, you better be there. All right, the majority leader has moved. Senate stand adjourned until February 20th, 10 a.m. That is a Tuesday. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Ayes clearly have it. Have a good weekend.